Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ms. Francisca, Chief Economist, South Asia, uh, World Bank, my cabinet colleagues here, Excellency Mr. Alexis Chetatinsky, the Consul General of France, who is also joined us here today, the officers from the government of Sindh, the delegates from the World Bank, private sector, uh, stakeholders who've joined us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I'd start off by congratulating the World Bank and the Planning and Development Department for co-hosting this event for dissemination of two very important reports, the South Asia Development Update and the Pakistan Development Update, with Waqas telling us about the distribution side of the power sector. I've quickly went through these two reports. Obviously, I've read them, and there's a lot of information here which would guide us here in Pakistan, the public sector, the private sector, all the stakeholders, in order to improve our economic outlook. We highlighted the issues. Francisca told us the low-hanging fruit that we have, the participation of women and the increase in trade. Obviously, we have potential for both. And she was absolutely right. It's when the women would work with us, with the men, at higher level positions, being more productive. And right now, what we're doing is, though we're very proud that we've transformed here in Sindh. I don't know if your colleagues have told you or not. Kamal Sahib is here and he must have seen it himself, that in the most backward area of Pakistan, Tharparkar, where fortunately for us, we had a large reserve of coal, and obviously the Western world, including the bank, are not very happy with the production of energy through coal, but that's the cheapest power that we have right now. There, we've employed women as dumper truck drivers. And these trucks are not the normal trucks that you see here. I'm forgetting, perhaps you can help me, or Musaddiq can help me. They've got 6 tons or something, 50-ton trucks. These are like 3 times the size of the trucks you see on the roads here. And there are women driving them right down to the coal mine and transporting coal from there to the powerhouses. We've got women in this backward area operating reverse osmosis plants. So, these are the small, and I tell you, 10 years ago, one could not even think that these women would get out of their houses. And they are contributing to the economy there. And even otherwise, the province of Sindh, in my opinion, has been the most outward looking in terms of having women participate. Just to give an example, we have sitting here Dr. Azra Pecho. We've got reserved women's seats in the parliament, but she preferred to contest a general seat, not once. This is the second time round, and she's got elected on a general seat. Members of the National Assembly in Sindh who've got elected a number of times on general seats. So on the political sphere, in the workforce, Sindh, I believe, is the most outward-looking province, and we will be able to follow the recommendations of having more women employed. I'll give you another example. And I'm very grateful to the World Bank for working with us on this flood rehabilitation program, the housing program. And there again, we tried to get, and even otherwise, what the government of Sindh is doing is, whatever land we grant, we want the female of the family to be given title of that land, because we want them to have some power within the community. And in the housing scheme, I believe Khalid is here or not, more than 8,000 out of 2 million houses are being, they'll be owned by the women of the household, And all of them have opened bank accounts. There's financial inclusivity. They've never seen a bank before, and they've opened bank accounts, and all transactions are being done through the bank. So we're trying at all in all spheres to have more women participation. You mentioned in your, and I believe I'm grateful to Mukhtar Sahab and Waqas Sahab for giving us excellent presentations. You mentioned that poverty has increased from last year to this year. Yes, we need to do something, but again, I'm sure you know the factors. We had this catastrophic flood in 2022, and it took us back at least 10 years. And we are quite pleased at the way that we have tackled this flood and the rehabilitation that has been done, and the support that we've given. And I'll give an example. Again, I'm grateful to the World Bank because they came and partnered with us in all this. The biggest loss was in the agricultural sector. Almost 2/3 of the province was underwater. The entire crop was destroyed. So what we did was we went back and we said that we need to give confidence to this agricultural sector. We started off by giving them, we couldn't mobilize quickly to give them seed, but what we did was we gave them cash to purchase seed for wheat. And what happened? You just saw 6% growth in agriculture, after a flood. So this was only possible because the government had this vision, I'd say, that we need to build back agriculture. And apart from that, we've given the small farmers, and by small farmers I mean who have land holdings of up to 12.5 acres, a fixed amount of 60,000 rupees, and this has been given this year because we feel, and I'll talk a little about it, I'll get some other forum to talk about agriculture income tax, but I'll do mention you because you mentioned disparity in taxes. So I'd like to respond to that, if I may. So we gave 60,000 rupees to these farmers, and we're hoping, because last year, because of the procurement issues, the largest province decided not to procure wheat. We are sort of worried that we'll have a problem. The wheat crop is going to be sown in the next couple of months. We're going to have a problem, and we don't want to become, we're right now importing wheat. We were an exporter a few years ago. Last year, despite the increase, but because of population, which is a major problem, obviously the growth in population, wheat requirement has gone higher. We don't want to become a wheat importer again, and we need to make sure that we've got ample wheat stocks. So we gave 60,000. We've given 60,000 rupees in the last 4 or 5 months to the small owners to make sure that they're able to grow wheat. The larger farmers, obviously, they've got savings and they can survive a catastrophe, but the small farmers are only hand to mouth. They only live from season to season, from crop to crop. They actually borrow to grow their crop and return that loan at the end of the season. So we need to take care of them, otherwise we'll have a very big problem if we don't support the agriculture sector. So that has to go into this equation. When you're doing a country's economy, when you're going forward, yes, you need everybody to pay taxes. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. But you need to make sure, and I'll give you some details that I have regarding that. I just sort of wrote down. So, good lessons to learn from these reports, and I'm sure the stakeholders would make use of them. So I'd like to respond to that, if I may. So we gave 60,000 rupees to these farmers, and we're hoping, because last year, because of the procurement issues, the largest province decided not to procure wheat. We are sort of worried that we'll have a problem. The wheat crop is going to be sown in the next couple of months. we're going to have a problem, and we don't want to become, we are right now importing wheat. We were an exporter a few years ago. Last year, despite the increase, but because of population, which is a major problem, obviously the growth in population, wheat requirement has gone higher. We don't want to become a wheat importer again, and we need to make sure that we've got ample wheat stocks. So we give 60,000, we've given 60,000 rupees in the last 4 or 5 months to the small owners to make sure that they're able to grow wheat. The larger farmers, obviously, they've got savings and they can survive a catastrophe, but the small farmers are only hand to mouth. They only live from season to season, from crop to crop. They actually borrow to grow their crop and return that loan at the end of the season. So we need to take care of them, otherwise we'll have a very big problem if we don't support the agriculture sector. So that has to go into this equation. When you're doing a country's economy, when you're going forward, yes, you need everybody to pay taxes. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. But you need to make sure, and I'll give you some details that I have regarding that. I just sort of wrote down. So, good lessons to learn from these reports, and I'm sure the stakeholders would make use of them. 2 areas, I've talked about agriculture, so I'll talk about it first. The agriculture, the way it is structured in Pakistan, is that the farmer, the tiller of the land, and the landowner are partners. It's a partnership. They're not employed. For example, I'm an agriculturist myself. My tillers of the land are my partners. I can't get rid of them if they don't work. They've been working on that land, and we've got laws for that. We've got laws that you can't throw out a farmer from the land. You can sack, obviously there are labor codes and all, but you can sack an employee for not being productive if you have a valid reason. But a farmer, you can't do that. And we are not only partners, we're equal partners. Whatever the produce is, it's shared on an equal basis between the farmer and the agricultural landowner. Currently, the new regime that we're talking about, and, we've got a lot of pressure. While I was sitting down, I got another message from, I won't mention who because I don't think that'll be appropriate, regarding one misconception is that there's no agriculture income tax. There is an agriculture income tax. Yes, it's at a lower rate than the other taxes. It's at 15% right now, the highest slab that we have. Now, it is proposed that that is increased to 45%. You want to equalize everybody, fine. Now, just think, I just did some numbers, maybe they are a little off, but they're not much off. A landlord who owns 100 acres, and it's not a small land holding, it's a fairly large land holding, I think, in terms of Pakistan. If we cross the traditional crops of cotton and wheat that we have in the 2 seasons, he doesn't have orchards on which he has invested over a number of years, how much would he earn? I just made a quick calculation for 12 million rupees a year, $1 million a month of earning. Now, in order to make 12 million rupees a year, he'd need to produce, and he can do that with 100 acres production of, perhaps 25 million rupees of production, because he has to take out the expenses, then he has to take out, once the way it works is you've got, say, 100 rupee earning from your land, the expenses are 30 rupees, so you're left with 70, and the 70 is distributed equally between the tiller of the land and the landlord. So it's 35 rupees that I get. Now, I've made this calculation for 100 acres. I thought that, my net income would be about 12 million rupees. Currently, I pay a tax of, where's the number? I've mixed up the numbers here, but I'll be left with the new regime, I'll be left with 7.5 million rupees as my income, because the rest goes in taxes. Now, what I've done is, for 100 acres, I'll have maybe about 7 to 8 families who are working on these lands. So I've taken care of paying taxes, and they should not be paying taxes. They're very small. And so I've done my, if I was just employing them, I would give them a salary. If they don't work, I throw them out. If I work as an enterprise, like, you want to treat me as an enterprise, as a company, I just do that, but I'm not, first of all, I'm not allowed to do that under the law. Secondly, I would not do it because these people have been working as partners with me for almost centuries now, for decades at least. So this has to now again. So my net income is 7.5 million years, 100 acres of land, which would produce $1 million rupees. Sorry, would cost, Yam Khan, how much would an acre of land cost roughly? Good land where you've got 1 million rupee. No. Not the cost. I'm saying the cost of the land. 2.5 million, roughly, as I said, to 2.5 million. So the return on my investment is 3%. Now, which industrialist would work on a 3% return on investment? So you have to factor all these in when you start charging people taxes. You just can't generalize for everybody. So that's my first thought. Don't, by just generalizing, just kill a sector. And by killing that sector, we would be actually, just imagine we don't have to eat. So these are some thoughts that I had on the agriculture. On the, talked about women, poverty. Obviously, poverty would increase, and we need to work. The population growth, we need to work on that. Our Minister for Health is also the Minister for Population Welfare, and it's to control population growth. And we've got a task force here which should be meeting more regularly. my fault, I've not been able to give that time. But we are working on these areas in terms of, there was a written speech, I not talk about that. No. Last thing, power and distribution. Back in the 90s, there was the first power policy. HUBCO was, I believe, the first plant. There was even pre-power policy. The 394 policy. It's even a pre-94 policy. But I remember 94 policy, and at that time an analysis was done as to, power was expensive even in those times because there was lots of so-called controversies that, the government has got power at a very high rate. But an analysis, and I read that report. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find it. Perhaps one of you can find it for me. But I read a report at that time that what would it cost Pakistan if we don't have power versus we have, say, expensive power. I don't want expensive power, obviously not a proponent of it. That's one of the biggest problems that we're facing right now. But just imagine if we had not had HUBCO, and we would not have had the 94 policy power plants, where would we be now? So it's, in retrospect, it's very easy to blame people, but in my opinion, what happened was that the power policy was fine, the later power policies were also good. Where we faulted was to consume that power. We did not have a transmission system, we did not invest in the distribution, and that's what you highlighted today. And the result, we've got surplus power, that's what they say, and we can't use it. Can you imagine a country where the economic growth is at the bottom amongst the South Asian countries, where you've got 240 million people and you can't consume power. And that is the reason Dr. Azhar's question was, we don't have opportunities here for people, so they go out, and we're very happy to get the remittances. But we'd be happier if we could use their services here and create that production here in our country. And so we've got the human resource, we've got power, we can't use it. Now we're in a dilemma. We've just gone back 40 years, 35 years, when HUBCO was asked to come in and produce expensive power. Now we want somebody to come in and make transmission lines to use that power, and we did not do it over the years. And in my opinion, the problem lies in the structure. And I, with all due respect, I do not completely agree with the structure that the consultants keep on giving us. Even in the 90s, we talked about the same thing. Our constitution is very clear in terms of power. It gives responsibilities to various tiers. Now we've got the federation and we've got the provinces. The constitution clearly says that power, the federal government is responsible for generation of power and for constructing inter-provincial transmission lines. And that's it. Then it goes to the provinces, and it says provinces can also construct powerhouses, and that, the Sindh government has done that. I believe the other governments have also now done that. We were the first ones to do it. And to construct transmission and distribution system within the province. So it was the obligation or the duty of the provinces. Unfortunately, it's been centralized. We in the province of Sindh, and this was some time back, Musaddiq, when did we create STT? 2015 or 16? 15. We were the first province to make a distribution and transmission and distribution company and actually implement it. And there was a reason for that, because the federal government had told us that we're not going to give you we were constructing a power plant and they were not ready to evacuate power from that power plant. And they gave us a 5-year timeline, and we needed it in a year or 2 years at that time. And we went down and made our own transmission and dispatch company because we were allowed to, under the constitution, though we had to get NEPRA's approval and all that, and that took a fairly long time, apart from other issues that I'd rather not talk about. And build that transmission line. Just yesterday I had a meeting, we had a review meeting at the bank, and I was told that we've got a 50 megawatt power plant in Manjan, which is about 200 kilometers from Karachi. And the power distribution company there is HESCO, which has propriety to buy power. That's the other thing. You want to bring in the private sector? Yes, absolutely. We need to bring in the private sector. But currently, even the provincial government can't come in because they've got proprietary areas, and you can't. That's what happened when we wanted to generate our own power and sell that power to our own Karachi Water and Sewerage Corporation, which is it's a defaulter. It's got problems because we said no, we'll produce our own power and we'll sell it to them. We were not allowed to, because K Electric had propriety over this region here. So this Manjan power plant, which is, we're ready with it, but the National Transmission and Dispatch Company is saying that they'll need 4 years, you said? 2028. Yeah, 4 years to build this transmission line for us. Now, can you imagine? We're doing a power plant which is green power, which the costs of solar have gone down tremendously, but we don't have transmission for it. And I wanted to offer a solution, but then again, for reasons that I don't want to talk about, I just held back a little. I said, let me think about it. I don't want to get into another 5 years of mental torture, because it was just a few days before that I was out of that mental. We need to follow the law of the land, the constitution. We start from there, and if there's something wrong there, get it amended. Fine, I'm not saying it can't be changed. Yes, you can change it, but unless we follow the constitution, we talked about it. Musaddiq, it's not the 18th Amendment. This article has been there since the original 1973 Constitution. It's not been changed. There have been 25 amendments in the Constitution. This has not been changed. But on the contrary, the Crown position is such that we're not working on it. So, yes, these problems are there. We need to provide power, electricity at reasonable rates. We won't do that overnight. We can't do that. That's my opinion. A lot of people have other thoughts. And then, there was this plan of just giving a huge subsidy to the power consumers. And the province of Sindh did not sort of participate in it. And we got a lot of flag from the federal government. But then within days, they realized that they'd made a mistake. And so that's not the answer. We do need to get the production costs down. We need to reduce our losses. We will not be able to do it in months' time. It will take us years, and these will be hard times that we have to sustain. And we can only do it collectively. And because the people here from the government, from international agencies, from the private sector, what I'd request is that we need to all work together in order to come out of these problems. And inshallah, we have the will, the government has the will to do it. I saw this. So we have that will, if you want.
निगरान हुकूमत से लेकर अब तक जो है जमीनें देने का सिलसिला जारी है। सरकारी जमीनें जो है प्राइवेट सेक्टर और हाउसिंग स्कीम्स को दी जा रही है, तो इसका सिलसिला कब तक जारी रहेगा?
कौन सी हाउसिंग स्कीम को दी?
सर DH है, उसके अलावा
नहीं, अभी कोई
प्राइवेट सेक्टर जो है
अभी कोई ऐसी हाउसिंग स्कीम
का बता दें, IPPs के हवाले से अच्छी खबरें आ रही हैं।